Param Pujya Swamiji, my dear students, a very good evening to all of you. When the heart is full, words are few. I have been SSP Kanpur or the police chief of this district for almost 3 years. There are innumerable places to occupy the minds of youngsters and individuals, not for a day, not for a week, but for more than a lifetime. There are 1,000 places where the youngsters have the opportunity of slow poisoning themselves and committing harakiri, intellectual and moral. But blessed are you children, blessed are your parents, that you have found time and the opportunity to talk about Swami Vivekananda Maharaj, service, Raj Yoga, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga and allied subjects. In fact, the question and answer sessions that took place after Dr. Subramaniam's lecture had sufficient intent and components in them to perhaps have a full day session on them. That is the level of spiritual and intellectual and moral content that we had in the debates and that we will continue to have in times to come. God bless all of you. Now, Swami Vivekananda Maharaj has not only impacted you, he has influenced intellectual giants like Swami Arvind Maharaj, Subhash Chandra Bose ji, Netaji, Mahatma Gandhi, Rabindranath Tagore, and a whole generation of intellectual and moral stalwarts. No wonder we had people like Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose who said, and who became legendary figures, you give me blood and I will give you independence. Because he was at the feet of Swami Vivekananda. He learned from Swami Vivekananda. And those who did not learn from Swami Vivekananda had a different mind frame altogether, have a different mindset altogether. Their line is, you give me blood, you give me votes, blood I will take myself. The very priority is different. Romeo Rolla, who wrote the biography of Swami Vivekananda Maharaj, said, his words are great music, phrases in the style of Beethoven, marching rhythms like the chorus of Handel. I cannot touch his sayings without an electric current passing through me, and what currents they would have passed when the words emerged from the lips of the hero himself. Let me tell you, my dear children, you are old enough to be my children, and let me tell you, are you audible? Am I audible to you? Very well. Let me tell you that I seem to be the oldest man in this gathering. Swamiji, I think we may be of the same age, or I may be a couple of years older than you, Maharaj. But there is a philosophy of dying declaration. The philosophy of dying declaration is that the person about to die will not speak an untruth. So whatever I am saying today, please treat it as my dying declaration. I will not speak an untruth. Whatever I have experienced in my life, I will place before you. Many, many years ago, it was maybe 15 or 20 years after independence that I was in school, or as old as you are today. That was the time when we were obsessed with everything that is British, everything that is Western, everything that smacks of English language. The area of snobbery was such that you had to speak English, and English speaking was an excellent level finder. My father once, I must have been 12 years of age, and lo and behold, what Dr. Subramaniam said, son, this is a copy of Raj Yoga by Swami Vivekananda. I request you, as a father, please give 2 hours to this book. And lo and behold, I completed this, and the first page was that which has been embellished, and your invite has it is like the preamble of yoga. Each soul is potentially divine. The purpose in life is to manifest this divinity within. by controlling nature, external and internal. Do this either by work or worship, or psychological control, or psychic control, or philosophy. Dogma, rituals, temples are but external manifestations. This is the preamble of the entire philosophy. And going through the pages, it were as if going from one truth to another truth, to a bigger truth, and going to the reality. Ultimately, in fact, it not only opened my eyes, it opened the eyes of at least 50 other students who were either my friends, my peers, or my classmates. Today they are captains of industry, judges in the Supreme Court, leading lawyers, leading businessmen. And when we talk of service as a way of life, let me tell you, there is no other life apart from service. There is no other option, there is no other way of life except service. There was a gentleman, I wonder if he was still sitting here, he put a very poignant question to the illustrious speaker, Dr. Subramaniam, that he is moved to tears and the level of misery is going up and up in spite of all the social service that is coming by. Was that you, sir? I would like to have 5 minutes of you, and if you permit me, touch your feet after that. Lesser mortals will not even think of what is happening. Lesser mortals will not even think of whether there is hunger, there is misery in the neighborhood. It is gentlemen like you who think, Dev mujhe sab dukh de de, sab jan sukh paaye, auro koi jo dukh hai mere upar hai. Halahal, to drink halahal, the poison, you have to be Shiva, at least 1% Shiva to take halahal. If I have 100 rupees in my pocket, I would spend 200 rupees on myself. Not 99, not 100, but a person who's able to spend, I could not restrain myself. And we have to talk and discuss service as a way of life. Swamiji, during the course of his travels, during the course of his discourses, said, I'm proud to be an Indian, and I'm proud to be one of your unworthy servants. In one of his addresses, he said, I'm proud to be an Indian, and I'm proud to be one of your unworthy servants. What better place can there be to understand the sentiments than IIT Kanpur? The best brains are here. The poorest of the poor are looking at you, what you can do for them, what you can do for the country. When we talk at different platforms, different fora, we talk of only 2 institutions, the army and the IIT. We look upon them as something that has come from the skies. You have to have it in you to be in the IIT. And if the poorest of the poor, if this poor country has brought you to a place, you owe it to them, you have a duty towards them, towards your motherland. Otherwise, there are those make merry, make money, make hay while the sun shines. But then there were 2 lines written for such people, and doubly dying shall go down to the wild dust from whence he sprung, unwept, unsung, and unhonored. But you are not like that. Had you been like that, you wouldn't have been here in the first place. You wouldn't have been listening to speaker after speaker, because there is a spark in you. Man does not live by bread alone. Have you been satisfied with bread? You would have been satisfied. There were a million places in Kanpur where you could have gone and spent your time in this chilly winter than spending your time here in the auditorium on a holiday. There are so many places, but the very fact that you are not satisfied with the present state of affairs, let me tell you what will satisfy you. It is service, and service alone that will say. There is a spiritual content into service. There is a moral content into service. We will concentrate only on the spiritual content. Swamiji, in the course of his life, proved that apart from the fact that he was a Raj Yogi incarnate, he had the mind of Shankaracharya, the heart of the Buddha, but at heart, he was a very compassionate man and the Buddha. I could give you any number of examples what would have perhaps proven that Swamiji topmost priority was the poor, the downtrodden, the illiterate, and that is why he used the words Daridra Narayan. Jiva as Shiva, Bal Gopal, children as God, Nari as Matra Shakti, and about the motherland he said, earlier my motherland was pious to me, but now even the very dust is hallowed and sacred. Even the very soil of India is sacred to me. That was the level of patriotism that the Swami had. And he displayed it on so many occasions. The Santhal laborers who had come for work at the mutt, he would exchange ideas with them. He would have special feasts for them. And when they would go, give them extra presents and extra money also. When there was acute plague in Bengal, he was almost on the verge of shelving the Belur mutt project and selling off the property to pay off and to treat the people who had fallen sick because of plague infection or were dying of hunger. He said the Belur mutt can come secondary, human misery has to be attended first. That is what service is all about. As a child, Swamiji would gift away whatever he had, whatever would come his way, howsoever precious it may be. He went out of his way to give alms to the needy, to the beggar, to the mendicant, to the sadhus. And do we not see a similarity between some present here and Swami Vivekananda? Okay, it is not possible for all of us to become 100% Swami Vivekananda. We can make an honest attempt. Even we can become at least 0.5% Swami Vivekananda Maharaj. Try as we may. And I'm sure we are on the verge of, we have his blessings. We all have his blessings. It is within the scope of all of us to become 0.5% Swami Vivekananda Maharaj. Now coming down to the real life examples. When I joined service, Mr. Baghaiwala, ICS, came and he addressed us. He was a Parsi gentleman, not a Hindu. And he said that it is impossible to be a good human being and a good government servant, a good public servant, if you have not read Swami Vivekananda. And I dare say it is impossible to be a good human being if you have not read the Swami Vivekananda and his works. This was in 1974. I did not perhaps totally understand the import or the wisdom of Mr. Baghaiwala, I said, but now I realize that that wisdom is nowhere else. At the age of 12, when my father gave me Rajyo, that had a different purpose of molding you spiritually. But being a good human being, knowing the value of service, what is service? There are people who are doing service in the city of Kanpur, and before they serve or even they give the mouthful, there are photographers, the electronic media to take the photographs. And a huge banner explaining, we serve. Are we serving or the poor are serving me? I think we are putting the cart before the horse. In that case, if we have the electronic media and we feed 10 people and feed 100 journalists and we have a banner, we serve, I think we are living at the cost of the poor, the deprived and the hungry. We are using them as a stepping stone for our own glory. We are using them as a stepping stone perhaps also to get accolades from the government and from the press. That is not service. What is service in terms of the Vedanta? What is service in terms of Swami Vivekananda philosophy? Swami Vivekananda philosophy now is a subject of debate, is a subject of PhDs and doctorates in many national and international universities. When I got his complete works, they were just in 8 volumes. Today there is a 9th volume also. And there is so much of wisdom, there is so much of spirituality. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you the philosophy. Let me tell you the story behind Swami Vivekananda Maharaj's avatar or his incarnation. Swami Ramakrishna Maharaj had a dream, or in his trance, he visualized that the Saptarshi Mandal, the 7 stars, perhaps coalesced, condensed together, and they incarnated as Swami Vivekananda Maharaj. This is also born by the fact that for a person born on 12th January 1863 to have gone to his heavenly abode 4th of July 1902, living for less than 40 years, his active worldly life less than 10 years, to leave such an indelible impact, unless you are God yourself, unless you have divine qualities yourself, unless you are authorized by the Almighty and the divine forces, there is no way that you can have an impact. There are people who are teaching philosophy in Oxford and Cambridge, they do not have that impact. There are people who are teaching philosophy, who have lived in philosophy, they do not have that impact. But Swamiji is eternal. His interaction with philosophical giants like Dr. Paul Deussen, Professor Max Muller, he completely overshadowed these professors in terms of his wisdom. Mahatma Gandhi, who was totally influenced by Swami Vivekananda Maharaj, said, service is not possible unless rooted in love. We have the example of those who place a big banner, "We serve," get themselves photographed, and then contemptuously throw away the people whom they have given food packets, wash their hands with disinfectants after touching their children, and apply colognes and deodorants on themselves for having touched and being with the deprived. No. My dear students, pick out the people whom you love the most in your life. They are the people who have served you the most. Your primary school teacher, your mother, your father, your elders in the family, your grandparents. Those who have served you selflessly with lot of love are the people close to your heart. You will dream of them and shed tears even today in your dreams, because they are the people who have touched you. Touched you in a manner that nobody else can touch you. You may get a Rolls Royce, you may get a this, and we are talking of wealth, we are talking of work. The 2 or 3 richest people in this country, or I talk about the world also, if 10,000 crores would not have been enough, Mukesh Ambani and Anil Ambani wouldn't be going to work every day. Andrew Carnegie, one of the richest men the world has ever seen, on his deathbed, people said that you must be a very satisfied man, that you are dying leaving a legacy of almost $10 billion. What rubbish. I had planned to leave at least 15 billion and I'm leaving only 10 billion. I'm not a happy man. And this is the story of every person who seeks happiness outside. Anyone who has got happiness ever in this life has got it internally, inside. Whether it is Gautam Buddha, Christ, Mahavir, Guru Nanak, anybody, all happiness is internal. Anybody who has sought this outside has ultimately to come back. I would quote a couple of lines from The Will of Aurangzeb. It is said by Sir Jadunath Sarkar that the history of India was the history of Aurangzeb for 40 years. No monarch had ruled an empire bigger than Aurangzeb's. His empire was bigger than that of Chandragupta or Harsha. And for 40 years, the history of Aurangzeb was the history of India. And he writes in his will, I am dying. I know not whether I have served the cause of religion or not. I came into this world empty-handed. But I am going to my heavenly Father with a load of sins. Let the world know that Aurangzeb, the emperor, Aurangzeb, the Hujjati, is going with empty hands out of this world. This is what one of the mightiest emperors of all times had to say after 40 years of rule, unfettered rule. It is not the case that if I were to perhaps have one car, one frog, one house, that will not make me happy. Ultimately, what does happen? I have a house, I keep on showing. Colonel Anil comes, he's, Colonel, look at this house. I have a swimming pool, I have a library, I have a sit-out, I have this. But in a couple of years, somebody builds a bigger house. The same house gives me a depression. See how hollow worldly attainments are. There were 2 ladies sitting in a New York hotel. And one lady said, look at that handsome man coming in. He's almost a film star. I would give anything to marry that man. Unka, when you do, let me know, because he happens to be my husband and I have filed for a divorce. This business of pleasure and pain, this business of pleasure and pain is absolutely super. We should go down. This is symptomatic. Look, when we were children, what gave us happiness? A couple of sweets, a couple of candies. When we became teenagers, perhaps a smile from a good friend, you would understand what. At middle age, perhaps a car or maybe 2 cars and a house. At my age, if you don't have spondylitis, you are a very happy man. And maybe after 10 years, I'm old enough, a clear stomach would be the bliss incarnate. So the concept of happiness changes with time, with phase in which one is, but bliss, divine bliss, comes only through service. Now service is not possible unless rooted in love. This is Mahatma Gandhi, and Mahatma Gandhi influenced by Swami Vivekananda. What are the ingredients of service? Thank you. First is discipline. Discipline is not the type of discipline that Colonel Anit and I would understand. Thumb, baith ja, khada ho ja, teacher would know. A discipline that pertains to purity. You and I have been programmed into becoming visual rag pickers. What you are and what I am is programmed by what others tell me. Somebody says, Mr. Vikram Singh, you are such a bright police officer. Mr. Vikram Singh, you are very arrogant. I keep on stitching those things about myself and build a jacket for myself. And it is built or constructed not on facts, but by what others tell me about myself, what the mirror tells me about myself. So being a visual rag picker prevents me from being focused. An unfocused mind, an undisciplined mind leads to undisciplined actions. So when the mind is disciplined, you know what to do. Yes, there will be hiccups. There will be questions. Am I on the right path? If I'm spending 50% of my assets on charity, am I on the right path? These questions will come. But when your own book of knowledge will have opened, you will get the answers also. In Swamiji's time, Swamiji said that I expect 100,000 bright young and women to be sannyasis and work for the country and for the downtrodden. This is all that he wanted. He wanted sannyasis for whom death did not matter, who were prepared to die with a hurrah. Who was a sannyasi? There are 2 sannyasis sitting here. For them, death does not matter. To the contrary, they have no right of private defense. If you were to slap me, the IPC section 3.2 tells me that I can hold your hand, and in proportion to what you are doing to me, I can hit back. Swamijis have the same rights, but they will never exercise it. My name is not Swami Vikram Singh. To the contrary, they are Swamijis. They are the real masters who have disowned everything. They are the real masters. And that's what they are known as Swami. I am not known as Swami Vikram Singh. Because I am very possessive and greedy about the material things. About a fixed deposit receipt of 10,000 or a share certificate of 25 shares, I am prepared to shed my blood and the blood of my friends and brothers. Therefore, I am not a Swami. Discipline presupposes Chitta Shuddhi. Being in the right company. Having a right cause. Discipline also means that if I have to go to a nightclub, I get up in time, dress up appropriately, and reach the nightclub in time. That is also a discipline in a very perverse way. I am not talking of that level of discipline. Discipline knows that what is eternal. After discipline comes sacrifice. If there is no element of sacrifice, then service does not come. I can be disciplined. There can be so many disciplined stockbrokers. There can be so many disciplined criminals. There can be so disciplined mafias. To the contrary, I have the opportunity, and as a police officer, to visit jails. I find quite a few mafias and dacoits to be very disciplined. But that is not the discipline we are talking about, because there is no element of sacrifice in what they are doing. The element of sacrifice presupposes that your interests come last. The interest of others come first. If I'm not able to sacrifice, when we said we're talking of your parents, of your teachers, the concept of sacrifice came earlier. Then comes transcendence, sthit prajna. The Bhagavad Gita elaborates on what sthit prajna is in verses 54 and 55 of chapter 1. One who knows that there is no happiness from the other person. I cannot get happiness from the other person. One who is happy with oneself is a sthit prajna. Whose prajna? Prajna is that level of intelligence. Time is short, we cannot elaborate upon various levels of consciousness. There are 3 levels of consciousness: Medha, Prajna and Ritambara. Prajna is that level of awareness which, when is stable. Today, it is stable. I know that my source of happiness is within me. I do not depend on anything or any external situation to make me happy. I am sthit prajna. It is easier said than done. It is a very difficult spiritual discipline, and it comes through the bounty of the Almighty, through tremendous spiritual practices. And by the way, children, if there are enough copies of the Raj Yog, I would love to gift one to everyone, and before I leave, I would like to make a payment of that, because what my father gave me, I am old enough to be a father. Let it be at least a token return of what I got from my father. You forgive me for that, but in case there are enough copies, let every children have a copy, and I would like to make a payment of that, please. We talk of integrity. Swamiji did not have the issues of integrity. Swamiji did not have the issues of character, which was that he expected every young man and woman to be a sannyasi and to give his life with a hurrah, without batting an eyelid. Today, you have the role models. Today, you have examples of bureaucrats, politicians, making what? In lakhs, in crores, in hundreds of crores. Do you think at the end of the day they are happy people? Let me tell you what at the end of the day they suffer. After the houses are raided, the son goes and tells the father, the only son, Dad, I'm sorry, I hate being your son. Why did you do it? Because son, I did it for you. You should not have done it, Dad, and I'm ashamed to be your son. And lo and behold, ultimately the only son committed suicide after 10 days. In another case that is current, because it is current, I cannot take names. One child went, took her father's pistol, gave it to her mother, gave it to dad, asked him to shoot me, shoot you, and then shoot himself. The wages of sin is death. Because these ladies and gentlemen did not perhaps that level of sacrifice in them. They did not have that level of integrity. And that is why they had to suffer. A person who is dishonest, who is unsacrificing, perhaps may appear to be doing well in life. Truth always wins, but truth ultimately wins. And therefore, truth always wins. Integrity. We talk of integrity. Integrity does not really mean not accepting money. There are those who do not accept money, but perhaps they are not fair-minded in their conduct. They are casteist. They have a soft collar for people who come to a particular religion, caste, community, and regions. Do you think they have the appropriate level of integrity? No. We who have been brought up in the philosophy of Swami Vivekananda Maharaj, those 35, 40, 50 individuals, thereafter, God be my witness, have not touched liquor, have not touched nicotine in any form, either in tobacco or gutsa or any cigarettes, have never taken intoxicants, and have tried to lead an upright life. We were, yes, branded as fools, branded as imprudent, branded as indiscreet, branded as having hallucinations. But wherever they have been, at the end of the day, they are the most successful people on which the society looks upon as role models, whether they are in the industry or whether in the legal fraternity or whether they are in the bureaucracy. The concept given by Swami Vivekananda Maharaj are a role model and a lighthouse. Righteousness. We're talking about how personal conduct is very important. We talk of earth, but the 4 Purusharths that are laid down in our scriptures are that dharma comes first. Dharma comes first. Then comes earth. It is not that earth comes first and dharma can come later. That I rob Swamiji of lot of money and then construct a temple to get over my sins, to expiate my sins. Dharma comes first and earth can come later. Swami Vivekananda Maharaj has given it very beautifully in his small book, Sadhana. And he has quoted the Holy Bible and he says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all things shall be added unto you. Seek ye first the kingdom of God. First seek the kingdom of God. First seek the divine, and then all things shall be added unto you. We are putting the cart before the horse. We want the Rolls Royces, the Mercedes, the Porsches first. We want the houses first. All things shall be added to you, come first. And the kingdom of God can come later, or it may not even come. Money has a very peculiar quality. I have seen so many of my relations being level middle class, lower middle class, upper middle class. As long as they belong to a level that perhaps was a little impoverished, if they had 200 rupees, you could ask them for 200 rupees and they would gladly give those 200 rupees. But when they had $2 million, ask them for a couple of dollars and they said, no, sorry, I don't have a single cent in my pocket, I will not give you. The certain body chemistry changes with, and very few people are able to get away. And as the saying goes that perhaps the Midas story, it is a parable, but it is very illustrative of the fact that what chemistry changes, what wealth changes, how it changes the chemistry of our minds. We have seen that the fourth ingredient is to transcend, go beyond. How do we go beyond? You have seen star athletes. You have seen people who get a gunshot injury. You have seen people working for a cause. They forget their body. Likewise, my friend here. Likewise, Mother Teresa. Likewise, Swami Vivekananda. The little body, as Swami Vivekananda Maharaj said, you forget that you are a small pig. You forget that you are a small pup. You forget that you are small this. You are God. You are eternity. And when you are into such elevating activities like seva or service, you will transcend your small being, and the highest of nirvikal samadhi, highest attainments of spirituality shall be yours with service and service alone. Again, I saw an illustration in you that when awareness is of a type, it may be an injury, it may be a discomfort, it may be, say, a suffering of any animal or human being, it will bring tears to your eyes. They were saying that chetana samagra hoti hai to aansu apne aap behne lagte hain. But then you have to have Mahakavi Nirala, Suryakant Tripathi Nirala used to say, "Thehro aha mere hriday mein hai amrit main seech lunga." A man in abject poverty, a very talented Hindi poet, got 5,000 rupees and a shawl during such winters. But since he was so spiritually elevated, on his way back he found a beggar shivering in cold. He gave those 5,000 rupees and the shawl to the beggar. One has to be a superhuman being even to think and act like that. And sir, I am addressing you also. Please don't forget, you have a divine quality. Do not expect any consolation from the world. The world is too small for people who have a heart as big as yours. Your consolation will come from the Almighty and from your heart. And those who live by these norms have a satisfaction level, they go on an emotional high. There are people who, though may not be in our terms perhaps very highly attained, but when they look at the Swamijis, when they look at you with the eyes, is there any anguish, any fear, any expectations? Is there any anguish, any fear, any expectation from your parents when they look at you? They are here only to give, not to take from you. And that is what makes the difference between the divine and the worldly. Again, there is a concept of servanthood. When we talk of servants, we talk of menials who come and polish my shoes, who will give me a cup of tea, who will perhaps iron my clothes. Servanthood is a matter of the heart. It has nothing to do with position. And the highest people you and I know are those who are servants at their heart. Your parents, your elders, your teachers, they are servants at heart. They will only serve you selflessly, they will never expect anything in return. Because they have you in their agenda, they don't have themselves in their agenda. Your welfare comes first for your parents if it is in their life. Let me tell you, all of your IT graduates, if there ever was a crunch in your life, your parents, that adversity, that difficulty will impact your parents first and then it will strike. It will never strike you first, or not like today's parents, not my general parents. I should have the best of clothes, the best of clothes, the children can be satisfied with second-grade stuff. No. You have parents, if ever, heavens forbid, if there is a cause, they will sell the ancestral lands and your mother's jewelry to see that you go to USA for higher studies. Cash will never come in your way because they have servants in their heart. They have placed you before their agenda. They have placed others before their agenda. There are beautiful lines in the checkwood halls of the Indian Military Academy. The safety, honor and welfare of your country come first, always at every time. The safety, honor and welfare of the men whom you command come next. Your personal safety, honor and welfare come last, always at every time. Beautiful lines. But they encompass the philosophy of servanthood in the heart. Because they are here, like the army, to serve the nation and serve the people here. Love is another ingredient. Had the parents not been in love, if the soldier is not in love with his motherland, he will not have that concentration. And if he does not have that concentration, giving the supreme sacrifice is also not possible. Then, what is service? The most blessed thoughts that you and I can possibly have are those that pertain. All of you think for a moment, which are your happiest thoughts in your lifetime? I can guarantee the happiest thoughts are those when you have lived for others, when you have served others, not yourself. Living yourself for yourself is fun. Living for others is joy. Are they the two same? Fun is spiritually empty and morally zero. Joy is spiritually inherent and morally intrinsic. Fun leads me to commit robberies, take drinks, gamble, indulge in all kinds of, because it gives me fun. Fun is momentary, joy is eternal. I have a plate of food, somebody more needy comes, I give it to him, that food becomes prasadam. And I remember it for a lifetime. But if I were to snatch that food from somebody, you can imagine what kind of impact it will have on my conscience. Ladies and gentlemen, I've had the privilege of getting the gallantry medal 4 times and other medals 2 times. And it was indeed a pleasure getting those medals from the Rashtrapati-ji, having dinner at the sit-down dinner at the Rashtrapati home. It was indeed a great pleasure and a great honor. Indeed, having a dinner in London costing 15,000 rupees per person was great fun. But one of the most memorable moments I have had, which has given me tremendous satisfaction and joy, is here. It did not make me rich by even a paise. I'll tell you that anecdote in about 2 minutes. An old lady came at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon in my office when I was IIT Kanpur. She wanted to see me, and she was being chased away by the lower staff. She is actually mentally challenged, and she harasses every police officer, and she is not the right person you should meet. Okay, but I must see her. She came here, you just listen to me, don't, but just listen to me. She was actually a widow, and she said that her son, her husband, and her father-in-law had been murdered by her distant relations just to usurp the ancestral village land. And the local police had branded her as insane, and nobody was listening to her version of the episode, and they said, no, that these 3 had gone to Bombay to work, and they would serve them. They would just come along, and I'll tell you where the carcasses and the bones are. Lo and behold, we got the case registered. We also recovered the carcasses, although the case was many, many years old, but we recovered the carcasses of the 3 dead bodies. that old woman came. She cried on my chest. Her tears of that widow are perhaps the biggest reward I've ever had in my lifetime, more than many, many million times what I have experienced elsewhere in my life. The thanks of a selfless act, of a very small act of service of a bureaucrat to a needy person is perhaps the happiest moment of my life, more than any happiness I may have got anywhere else. No dinner in Knightsbridge, London, no dinner or eats in the Sheratons can match with the single episode. I still have preserved that shirt, which had teardrops of that widow. I still have preserved that shirt. You all must have heard of the pathetic story of an IIT graduate who goes to America in search. It was going around. And then during the course of his life, he made so much of money. His parents wanted him, when the father fell ill, to come back. You must have heard of the story. No, then for the sake, even if it is repetitive, I'll tell you. There was a clerk's son, very brilliant. He made it to the IITs. The father was of very modest means. Perhaps he could barely afford the education of his son. He sent him to, after the IIT, he sent him to the USA. There the son got married. At one point of time, he was in his career, he got a message, father ill, come home. The wife said that perhaps your father will take a little time. What will you do? Send him some money. After some time, he got father dead. So what can you do? Ask your neighbors to do the rest, you send some money also. This happened with the mother also. Mother ill, mother died. After 15 years, he had 2 lovely children, but they married into different kind of setup and cultural backgrounds. The wife died, the man, he said, then what have I to do at the age of 65? I have no place to go, the children not recognizing me. Let me go back to India. He goes back to India. He has the advantage that perhaps his father was living in a 2-bedroom house, he has a 3-bedroom house. And for the sake of the 3rd bedroom, he mortgaged himself, his life, his happiness, and he has a load on his chest and conscience that he did not come for the cremation of his father. He did not come for the cremation of his mother. His children are not prepared to own him up, and he has lost his wife. Was it worth it? Because he did not have the servant to him. He did not serve as Swami Vivekananda wanted. Look what service has done and has rendered to people. The highest of spiritual attainments are available to service, as is exemplified by the monks of the Ramakrishna Paramahansa mission sitting here, to Mother Teresa. And there is the parable of the mongoose, who half gold and half brown, when it came to the industrial, said, my dear mongoose, how have you come here that you are half gold and half brown? This is because of the fact that I went to a householder's place and all of them gave their lives and whatever they had and they died of hunger. I could get only a couple of grains of the flour that had fallen, the like of which nobody has been able to give me in my own life. That level of sacrifice and seva nobody has been able to accomplish. Raja, Maharaj, you may be Chakravarti Samrat. You may have done 108 Ashwamedh Yajnas, but your level of sacrifice and service is not up to the mark as the one that poor householder had done, and I could get only a couple of grains of flour at the floor of that householder's place. This is the beauty and the sublime sentiment and the spiritual content of seva. May I bless you, all of you, my children, that you may become Mrityunjay, that from the Gyan and Vigyan of Swami Vivekananda, may all of you become Mrityunjay and may do India and your parents and this institution proud. God bless all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. If somebody...
Sir, I have a question from you. Suppose somebody is on a long path. How many times can you forgive his mistakes? Like in my life, I have chosen 5 people from the society who were at wrong path, and I tried to set them right. So I kept on correcting them, and well, I forgive them. It has become more than 99 times. They have got corrected up to, I would say, 90% or so, but they are still not 100% correct. How? I mean, they were making mistakes in society, they were cheating, they were doing all kinds of frauds in the society. So I was seeing their behavior. So I was just trying to, improve them so that they become useful to the society.
Very correct.
That way I am saying. In the society, everybody has disowned them. Nobody was trying to put them right. So that's a challenge I took, and I could set them right up to 80%. But in spite of that, I am not happy because they are still bad from my standard.
Let me tell you, so that is a very pious thought that you have. In the words of Swami Vivekananda, if it's at a personal level, be cheated 1,000,000 times, but do not relent. Lord Jesus once said, I have been wrong 7 times, how many times should I be wrong now? Unka be wrong 70 times 7. Do not come to the conclusion of 70 into 7, but forgive, because your heart is meant only to forgive. Your job is also to bring them on the right path, but expect nothing, want nothing, as Swamiji had said, but do what you think is your duty. Don't expect anything in return, and be prepared to be cheated 1,000,000 times. This answer is for you. If a student were to ask me this question, the answer would be different.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please wait. Please wait. I would like to call Dr. Kunal Ghosh to offer shawl and memento to Vikram Singh, sir.
It's my great honor to put this shawl